Amen. There was a rub in this neighborhood where he was, it's, like, to the island, and he give him a water. So a lot of times he would say it to everybody before he grabbed it. I made a bracha already, so they wouldn't be choshes.
Right.
Otherwise, he couldn't say it out loud.
Okay. Today we're going to start Chaf Hamid Beis, second line. That's 25b. Thank Hashem that we're able to learn every day. We're learning, we should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. One of the things that we mentioned in the Mishnah was that marriages that were not supposed to take place in the first place, then the woman in the marriage, the wife, ends up being warned by the husband not to be secluded with another person, and then she is secluded, so then she wouldn't end up drinking. She wouldn't end up drinking this site of water. So one of these cases was, which this one was actually a machlekes, muberes chaveri minekas chaveri. If the wife was not supposed to be married because the wife was not supposed to be married because she was previously married and pregnant or had a baby, she's supposed to wait 24 months before she gets remarried for the benefit of the child. She's not get remarried right away. So now she is remarried right away, and then the husband warns her. So we said that according to Reb Meir, she doesn't drink, and according to the Chachamim, she does drink.
What do you mean 24? I thought it was 3 months.
3 months for a regular woman to see if she's pregnant. But if she is pregnant or has a baby, a nursing baby, she's supposed to wait 24 months from the birth. Amar of Nachman, etc. 1 second. The Mishnah said, then the Gemara is quoting this, it says, etc. The next case was, this is important. This is where you get lost in the Gemara, but you don't read it's what happens in the etc. and then the question doesn't fit. The next piece is that, let's say there's a woman that can't have children because she's an islandess. That means she has like undeveloped female secondary sexual markers. That's not developed. Or Zakena, she's an older woman. She's not going to have children at this point. Or she had a potion that made her sterile. She's called the Akara. So, and this person is obligated to marry a woman. This man was obligated to marry a woman that is able to give him children because he has the mitzvah of Pruah Revu. So he wasn't supposed to be married to this woman. So here we had a machlekes between the Tanakama that says she does not drink and Rabbi Eliezer that says, what's the problem? She's allowed. He could be married to this woman. He just needs another wife. Yeah.
Nowadays, I'm just trying to think of the correlation. Women normally don't take poison, but if someone's chas v'shalom, woman's been treated with a cancer drug, a lot of times that makes them sterile. So what they do is they put their eggs in
Right.
Frozen state. Then, God willing, when they're well,
Right.
then they in vitro, and then she carries it afterwards. So would that be? I know it's not a halacha share, but would that change the ruling here? Because for the moment, she will still eventually.
You're asking a very big question, which I don't know the answer to. Your question is if in vitro, or let's say the carrier, is that considered?
Oh, she'll get it.
Is that considered Pruah Revu? Is that considered
it'll be
having children?
Her husband later on, and then they just put it back.
Yeah, sounds like possibility. I don't know the ins and outs of that. So, Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba Baravua. Rav Nachman says the name of his father-in-law, Rabba Baravua. This whole discussion that we just said, according to the Chachamim, she can't. According to the Chachamim, she can't drink. According to Rebbe Lezer, I don't know if it's Rebbe Lezer or Rebbe Lezer. According to, I just have a Reish Aleph. According to Rebbe Lezer, she can drink. That whole machlekes is only about the akara and the zakena. That's only regarding a woman that's sterile because she had a potion, or also she's an older woman, which means her time for having children has passed. Aval islandess, but if it's a woman that was never able to have children the way she was born, she doesn't have those features, so it never developed. So everyone agrees that she does not drink the Sota water. What's the reason for this? This is Rav Nachman's chiddush. So Shnema, he learns it from the pasuk. It says when if she's clean, then she'll have seed, she'll have offspring. Well, Misha Darkala Azriya. Obviously, we're dealing with someone that would be able to have an offspring. But Yatzazu, this is excluding, in other words, the section in the Torah that discusses the Sota is excluding a woman, Shein Darkala Azriya, that would not be able to have offspring. However, what about the Akara and the Zakena? So they, at least their type can have offspring, even though they, as an individual, can't. That's because of this stage in life where they are. But the islandess, it's not able at all to have the offspring. The whole section of Sota was not referring to. That's Reb Nachman's ruling. Well, a katana, we said a kata. We said if the husband warns his wife not to be secluded with a katan, we said that doesn't apply. But if he warns his wife that's a katana, it sounds like it would apply. She's able to have children, not right now. She's gonna have to wait. Right. Well, the Gemara has a question now. The following
She
question.
can be married to.
Yeah. The following question is a little bit long, and we're only looking for one point, but we're going to quote a rather long brisa that discusses a lot of things, some of them that we mentioned. And then at the end of it, we're going to have in there the term islandess. And they're going to say, see, Reb Nachman, what are you talking about that it doesn't apply to an islandess? It sure does. We have a brisa that says that it does. So you just have to wait till the end for that question. Well, Meisvei. There's a question. Someone warns his betrothed or his shemeres yavam, or the woman that he's waiting to marry. It's his brother's widow. Image like, and he warns her. He says, "Don't be secluded with such and such a person." Image like if she ends up being secluded before he ends up marrying her, she doesn't drink. She doesn't get the ksuba. She doesn't drink either. Said that wasn't considered tachasisha, right? Wasn't under the husband because he wasn't married to her yet. That's what we learned yesterday or the day before. Okay, now we're on top of page 26. Let's say he's married to his friend's pregnant woman or nursing. That means he got married too soon. He married his friend either died or divorced her, and he married her without waiting the 24 months. So she doesn't drink. She wasn't supposed to be married. This is Rav Meir's term. Rav Meir is so strict about this. He says that if someone does violate this rabbinic law, and he does marry this woman within 24 months, he has to divorce her, and he's never allowed to remarry her even after the 24 months. It's a knas. So you should have waited. Now you're in trouble. The Chachamim say that no, this is not a problem. I think the Chachamim would say that she would drink as well. He can divorce her now, and he'll marry her back later. Okay.
Wait, pregnant by another.
Yeah. Yeah.
She got divorced while she was pregnant before he died.
So the rule is that she's supposed to wait before she gets married 24 months, because the new husband could end up harming the child or ruining the milk. Won't be careful. During pregnancy, he may end up hurting the child, and afterwards, could spoil the milk. The milk that she has for the baby could get spoiled somehow with the new husband.
If he's not Jewish. Big fellow.
Yeah. She'll get pregnant again, and when she gets pregnant again, she loses the milk for the baby. Okay.
Rabbi Smith, is this all brought down merely as an example of someone who shouldn't have been married and therefore doesn't drink?
Yeah. Well,
why are we into this whole discussion, in other words?
Yeah, this is there's a lot of examples of people that shouldn't have been married, and therefore they're not going to drink.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We'll have a few more coming up. Now, harayva shenasa karav zakena. Look, calls him a raiva. Raiva is a bacher, a young lad. A raivim shavim shem. We have the Mishnah in Mesachtes Tamid. The young kainim are called raivim.
Can I say something? It's interesting. Musaf Rashi is at the
Yeah, you have a Mesaf Rashi. I don't have a Mesaf. Mesaf Rashi just means that it's Rashi. The new Gemaras, they took Rashi's translation from other places in Shas and they added it.
So he says here, Isha Shemeis Bala, Behino Beres. It doesn't say or divorced, because technically, if this guy wasn't supposed to marry her, it's a 24-month period, and the first Baal divorced her, he could still remarry her in that period. So, but if
That's
he was
coming
dead,
out.
then it wouldn't apply, right? So maybe that's why they leave out that.
Okay, you'll see in a second. You'll see it's coming up. So if this young person that is obligated to have children because he has a mitzvah per revu, he ends up shenasa karavs ken, he marries an older woman. All right, interesting fellow. And vein la yisha banim meikara, he did not have. Dr. Stein says you married a coyote. Okay, so.
What, you have paramour called coyote?
So
mine is classic. Yours is colloquial.
What?
Mine is classic. Paramour is a word.
I'm not classy.
No, classic. Meaning
I'm vintage.
vintage.
So, and he doesn't have children from beforehand that would absolve him, that would say that he already had, that he was yotze the mitzvah. So this woman that he warned, wasn't supposed to be married to her. Rabbi Lazar says, what's the problem? It's allowed to be married to her. He just has to marry someone else. It could get expensive, but okay. Aval, someone warns his Arusa's betrothed and his Shemeres Yavam. And after he marries her, he warned her while they were betrothed. And after the marriage, she then is secluded. So then she actually does drink. Either she drinks or she loses the ksuba, and the regular rules apply. Let's say he remarries his own pregnant wife or nursing. He warns her. Regular rules. She has to drink. The Gemara is going to ask that. This is quite obvious. It's a regular wife. What's the problem? Let's say there was a man that he was married to an older woman, she can't have children, or she's sterile because she took a potion. But the only thing is that he already fulfilled his mitzvah of having children because he has another wife where he was married before. But there's no problem there. Then she drinks. This seems to be an obvious case as well. Eishes mamza la mamza. Let's say the marriage here was that she was a mamzeres, and she's married to a mamzer, which is a halachically acceptable marriage. And he warns his wife not to be secluded, and then she ends up being secluded with another man. Or Eishes nasin lenasin, or it's the wife of a nasina to a nasin. So it's a woman that's a nasina to a nasin. That's this tribe that was not
Or a few tribes
that converted, but they weren't really part of the community. They weren't supposed to be married into the community because their character was not good, and they lied about it. The Eishes ger, or the wife of a convert, and the Eved Meshucher, or the wife of a slave that was freed, which is also considered a convert. But islandess, and this is what we were looking for. Or it's an islandess. She drinks. All of those are regular cases. It's regular marriages, everything is fine. The woman can't have children. There's no problem. She drinks after she's born. The islandess is the part that we were looking for in this quote, where it says Katanimia islandess. Nevertheless, we learned that an islandess does drink. This contradicts exactly what Rav Nachman said. Rav Nachman said the whole discussion between Rabbi Lazar and the Chachamim was just about an Akara, Zakena, an older woman, but an islandess, everyone agrees, does not drink because Viniksev and Zara, because she has to be able to have seed, and she's not even part of the group that has that can have children. Well, Tifta de Rav Nachman, it's a very strong question on Rav Nachman. The Gemara says no. Amalach Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman can answer this question very easy. How does he answer it? So by he answer every question. It says Tanai, it's a machlaikas. It's a machlaikas that resolves. He says, I follow the other opinion. He says, I go like the other opinion. The Tanya was taught in a Bryce, Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says, Shimon ben Elazar, I believe, is a student of Rabbi Meir, although yesterday in the Rambam I learned that he's a student of Rabbi Akiva, possibly. Or maybe Reb Tarfon. It was confusing to read that Rambam. Rambam says, and also Rabbi Akiva has a friend, Reb Tarfon, that's the teacher of Rabbi Yossi Glili, Reb Shimon ben Elazar, and something else, and it's unclear what the Rambam means. If Rabbi Akiva has friends, Reb Tarfon and Reb Shimon ben Elazar, or Reb Tarfon was a teacher of Rabbi Yossi Glili, Reb Shimon ben Elazar. It's confusing over there. I didn't look at the English stuff. Probably figured it out. Shimon ben Elazar says, islandess, islandess doesn't drink and doesn't get a ksuba. Reb Nachman has a good source, perfect source. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says clearly that the islandess doesn't drink. You're looking for Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Look under Reb Meir.
No, there were two different Reb Shimons under Reb Meir, but I forgot where Reb Nachman is.
Reb Nachman is going to be next. He's a student of Rav and Shmuel.
Oh, right under. Yeah, they mentioned two different Reb Shimons under Reb Meir. Reb Shimon ben Menashe, Reb Shimon ben Elazar.
Okay. So, what's wrong?
I do the like test.
Okay, so Reb Nachman has the source. Now the Gemara says, "Rabbanan hay v'niksev v'nizuzar mayavdilei." What do the rabbis do? V'niksev v'nizuzar. Niksev v'nizuzar means that when she's innocent, she's clean, so she'll end up having children. What do the rabbis say that's coming to teach us? If it's not coming to exclude an islandess. Second. Very good. That's what the Gemara is going to say. What do they do? They use it for what it says in the following brisa. It says that she's innocent and she'll have seed. That if she was barren, she'll have a child of Rabbi Akiva. The words of Rabbi Akiva. So they have this. It's not a wasted. It's not a pasuk that has no interpretation. It has an interpretation. It's not coming to exclude the islanders. It's coming to tell us something else. It's coming to tell us that after the whole ordeal over here with the Sota process, she ends up having children. Amalei Rabbi Shmuel says to Rabbi Akiva, Im Kain Yisteru Kola Kares V'Yifkedu. All of the barren women will cause suspicion. Then they'll get their husbands to warn them. Then they'll be secluded and they'll be innocent in a way that they're innocent. And then they'll end up having children. You want the tzniastic of women that they're going to lose out? Is that how it's supposed to happen here? The ones that don't do anything suspicious, they'll be the only ones that will be barren. Imkain, so according to him, so what does he do with V'niksav and Izrazara? Rabbi Shmuel says, no, it's coming to teach me something else. Shim's Haisi led this Bitzai, led this Berevach, that if she had painful birth, now she'll have easy birth. If she would give birth to Nekeves, he led the Scharim. If she had only girls, now she'll have boys. That's supposed to be better. Ketsarim, if their children were short, then you led the Seruchim, then they'll be tall, or the way it says here, long. Shchayrim, if they were dark complexion, you led the Svan, it'll be a light complexion. That's supposed to be an improvement. So, Taisus asks that he doesn't get what Rabbi Shmuel's accomplishing by his answer, because a woman that had painful birth now is going to seclude herself to be able to have easy birth, if that was the whole issue. But only the only people that are going to have painful births now are going to be the ones that are tznius, that don't cause suspicion.
So, what Rabbi Yishmael is saying is that women who are very, it's like a virtual thing to seclude themselves with other men, so that Hashem will bless them.
That's a concern. If you get a blessing, if you do that. Yeah, the commentators say that Hannah wanted to do that with Eli.
Right. Yeah.
And, right. Okay.
So Eli took off and then she said, Eli, lama sabachthani.
That was said by Esther. Esther said it. At least according to the way we translate that. Eishes mamzer la mamzer. One of the things that we mentioned here was that if the wife of a mamzer is married to not the wife of a mamzer, a mamzeres is married to a mamzer, so we said that she's warned. We said that she drinks. The Gemara says pshita, of course, that's a regular marriage. But the Gemara says that we do. I could have thought that maybe there is a concern over here. What do we want? We want to make peace between husband and wife. And therefore, they'll have children. What's going to happen when this couple has children? There'll be more mamzerim. Maybe in this situation, we should not go for making peace between them. Because why do you want to have more mamzerim in the world? Because when this couple has children, the children will be mamzerim. There's only one way of getting rid of mamzerim. Halachically. Is according to one opinion, it doesn't help. According to one opinion, one opinion has a suggestion that he marries a non-Jewish slave woman, and then he frees the children. And then in that way, otherwise, someone that's a mamzer, who's he supposed to marry? He can't marry a Jewish girl. So he marries a convert or a mamzeres. Now the convert is allowed to marry the convert, but the children are going to be mamzerim. What do the children do? But if he marries,
carries over.
Yeah, it
from
continues
the offspring.
for all generations.
Oh, it's all not
Yeah.
one generation.
No, it continues. So what he can do is he would have to marry someone. Basically, the concept is he marries someone not Jewish, and then the children convert. But you're not allowed to marry someone that's not Jewish. But he is allowed to marry, according to this view, he's allowed to marry a Jewish, a non-Jewish maidservant of a Jewish house or his own house. So instead of taking her as a wife, he takes her as a maid, and then he lives with her, and then the children he frees them.
Let it made.
Is it done? That's it.
So I've never heard of it done, but that's probably because everyone's afraid to write about it. It sounds illegal.
Well, we don't apply
Since
this
Abraham
now.
Lincoln.
Within this speech, it's back.
No, it would be applied today as well. Yeah, yeah. We had a case in the Besdin where someone was possibly a mamzer. We weren't sure, possibly a mamzer, and he wanted to marry a girl that was converting, and the rabbi from the Besdin was all excited. We can do this process. We'll convert her as a maid, that and then the children will work this out. It'll be like a whole new thing, and they look and they're like, can we get away with this legally? Can this just be a halachically?
Get away with this great judge.
This will just be halachically. It won't be like under a maid, like it's like slavery, American law would forbid that. So it's tried to like get the loophole that it would satisfy the halacha requirements and not violate American law. So at the end, the guy said he went to a different Besdin and just converted it quickly. He didn't realize the process was like more, messed
So
up.
today, is there a solution?
That would be the only solution, and now there's no solution. Yeah.
So there must be myriad of mamzerim, everybody who had a reform or conservative marriage or civil marriage and subsequent civil divorce without a get
No.
and remarriage.
That's
Because
why.
those are not considered marriages. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have this hat there for that. Yeah, Moshe saved us.
Yeah, okay.
Moshe Halkin held that the civil marriages and the reformed conservative marriages are not considered marriages, even though they don't have a regular get. So, but the whole marriage at the beginning wasn't considered a real marriage.
The children,
At least after the fact. So the children of the second marriage are not considered mamzerim, even though there was a previous marriage without a get. It's adultery, right? He said, no, it's not. They were never really married. So that saves. Even
It's just like the when we talked about that there was other cases of non-marriage stuff happening.
Right.
Family share, I can't even say that.
Okay. So I could have thought that maybe we should not have the mamzer and the mamzer's drink, because what are we trying to solve? We're trying to make more mamzerim. So Kamash Milan, no, that's not true. They're individuals and we have to fix their situation. Okay. Eishes ger be'evid meshucher v'ailanis. The wife of a convert. The Gemara says this is obvious. It's a regular pshita. It's a regular people. Why would you think that they wouldn't end up drinking? It says, well, no, the time I could have thought Dabral B'nai Yisrael. Maybe the verse says speak to the Jewish people. Maybe it means speak to the Jewish people like Gerim, not to the converts. Kamashvana comes to teach us that the Gerim are included. But who says? We didn't quote a pasuk yet. Tell me that yes. Where it says V'amarta ribuyahu. It says V'amarta, and you should say to them, that's coming to include everyone that possibly you could have thought was not part of the Jewish people. V'amarta is including them. Taisva says, one second. No, not from Yeshish. That's going to be something else. Taisva says, 1 second. V'amarta you used before to include the Arusa and the Shemer Yavam, that you can warn them, right? So he leaves it. He doesn't answer that. But apparently, every once in a while, we have a word that is used. This is very confusing. Sometimes the Gemara tells us, "How can you use this to teach me that? You used it for something else." And sometimes the Gemara quotes it's teaching me more than one thing. And the question is, when do we say this? When do we say that? I don't have it worked out. Okay. Next case. Eishes Kayan Shaisa, the wife of a Kayan drinks. Eishes Kayan Shaisa Pshita, of course she drinks. I could have thought like this, that there's a difference between if she was raped, if she was forced, or if she did this willingly. The pasuk says by the parsha of the Sota that she was not forced. If she would be forced, then she would be permissible. But if she was not forced, then she's prohibited. The only problem is that a kayan, if she's not forced, is also, if she is forced, is also prohibited to her husband. So maybe the whole section of Sota is not referring to the wife of a kayan. Mashmalan that it is. That's what we're learning from this Mishnah. The teres Labaila, the wife of the kayan goes back to the husband. Gemara says Pshita, after she's innocent, she goes back to the husband. Gemara says, of course she goes back to the husband. She was innocent. Ravuna says, B'misnavna, no, she was deteriorating in her situation. Her health was starting to dwindle. After she drank the water, everything went from bad to worse. The Gemara says, well, that's a problem. B'snavna habad kamaya. If she's deteriorating, then that means that the water says that she's guilty and she just has some merits. Why is she allowed to go back to her husband? Gemara says, Misnavna derech ivarim. She wasn't deteriorating that her stomach starts to burst and her legs start to fall. She was getting other things, I don't know.
She's picking up STDs. She was still fooling around.
She had arthritis. She had other things that were bothering her. It was, whatever. She needed a knee replacement. No, that would be Yarchasan Niflas. That would be the knees were falling, not the knee replacement. Other issues were going on. So Mao I could have thought Hazanui Zanai, that really she did commit adultery. So why isn't the water doing its regular thing? Usually the water makes that she deteriorates because her knees start to fall and her stomach bursts. Maybe by a kayan, the way it works is if she's raped and she says she's innocent, so then it doesn't make her stomach burst. It just other parts of the body start to fail. And I could have thought that by a kayan it works a little differently, because even if she's raped, she's still forbidden to her husband. So but she's forbidden to the husband. Kamash Malan, that no, the only time that the water works is when it works in the proper way, and this isn't doing nothing. Okay, yeah. It would have to be divorced.
No, but it wouldn't be like no warning. It'd be very difficult for the coin to warn her.
No,
and also
the Kayan warned her because he was always hanging out. She was always hanging out with this guy. He doesn't like that he doesn't trust the guy. He's a bad guy. Turns out the husband was 100% right. The guy ends up raping her. So what happens now? He's a Kayan, so she's forbidden. The only thing is, she claims nothing happened. So they go to Beis Hamikdash. She drinks the water. She starts to deteriorate afterwards, but it wasn't in the way that the water normally works. So we say that maybe she's guilty, and Kamash Malan, she's not guilty because the water didn't work in the proper way, and that means nothing happened. Isha Saras Shaisa, the wife of a eunuch, does drink. The Gemara says Pshita. It's a little bit confusing because before we said that he has to first have relations with his wife before the whole rules of Sota apply. Can't be the first relations that this woman has is with the paramour. That can't be. So Rashi says over here that he's able to live with his wife. He just can't. He's a eunuch that can have relations. He just can't make her pregnant. She just won't be able to conceive. And Rashi did not say that before. Rashi over here also says that we're talking about that he's a eunuch from birth, not that he had a vasectomy, not a vasectomy. That's if he had a vasectomy. Halachically, it's not allowed to get married. Yeah, if
The one that was born
one is born is allowed. Yeah, it's allowed to get married. So the Gemara says Pshita, she drinks besides the husband. And this man, this husband cannot have relations with her, Kamash Malan comes to teach us that nevertheless she drinks. It's very confusing, this Gemara, because you're telling me that she did, then he didn't. Then the Rashi before was much better. That he became sterile. He became castrated by after he had married.
So he had
He had relations.
previously.
The only thing is, at that point, he's not allowed to stay with her, unless what happens is, I don't know what the difference between Sris Chama and Sris Adam. Sris Chama means it's usually from birth. Sris Adam, but Sris Chama maybe doesn't mean just from birth. Maybe Sris Chama means something that happened, but wasn't an intentional surgery.
Why can he stay with her? Let's say she had a child from the previous with him. So they were Yotzei or 2 children, and now this whole episode.
Yeah, I think there's a problem of even being married to someone that's.
Once they've been Yotzei approval,
Yeah, I think they're not allowed to come into the congregation. That's just.
but they're already in.
I'm not talking about the children. I'm talking about the man.
He's already a paid member. No, I'm not. You're gonna go embarrass him, kick him out when they get a boy, a girl.
Yeah, I think he's not allowed to be married. I mean, I have to look that up again. But okay. Now it says now we're going back to the Mishnah. We had a brisa that we quoted to ask a question under Rav Nachman. We went in, we explained this brisa, and now we go back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that you can warn, the husband can warn against not to be secluded with any of her family members, not with her father, not with her brother. Gemara says, well, this is pshita. Mal detema, it's not so pashut, because I could have thought nitma shnei pam, and the fact that it says in the pasuk that she becomes impure twice. Echad labal v'echad labayla, that means that she can't she can't be with the husband, she can't be with the paramour. Eichad dekamitzer baznus. That's only if she had relations with him. That would make her forbidden. Aval ha'hayil v'asur v'kaima, but because this man can't marry her anyway, because it's her brother or father, the I would say that the rules of Sota don't apply to this situation. Kamashmalan, that they do apply. Okay, next case. He can't warn her not to be secluded with the child. Why? It says a man lay with her. And this is not a man, this is a child. And also excludes someone that's not a man. Okay, now we're going to go through several possibilities of who is the suggesting that he's warning her not to be with someone that's not a man, and it doesn't count. So we start off with Lamuti Mai. Who are you coming to exclude over here when you say not a man? Maybe it's coming to talk about a shachav. A shachav is a person that he's not able to have relations, to complete the relations. He doesn't have the strength. Can only have a partial relations, and then it ends. He can't have a regular relations. So what does it say over there? How does it translate it? Is there a name for shachav? Flexibility to complete intercourse. Okay. They don't have a word. They don't have. Okay. So maybe if he warns her not to be with this fellow that's a shachav, it's impossible because Shmuel says that you actually do warn. You can warn the wife not to be together with such a person. And such a person that has relations, if he marries, if he has relations with a woman, that woman could now become puzzle from ever eating truma, even if she belongs to a Kayan family. She becomes puzzle. She becomes like a halal. If she has relations with someone that would make her into a halal, if the person was a shachar. Well, mekanan al yadai. when Shmuel says that, now we got distracted because we said Shmuel says, yeah. So we say, we digress a little bit. Mekanan al yadai. Shita, of course you can warn. What are you saying that the rules of Saita apply? Shmuel says. Why should it apply? The Gemara asks. That it says only if a man lays with her and he lays with her and gives seed. And this person cannot do that. It says Kamash Malan. Shmuel says that nevertheless it doesn't matter. Okay. We're going to see later what the word and give seed is referring to. So Upaisil B'Truma, Shita, of course, such a relations will make her prohibited from eating Truma. How do we know that the woman becomes a halala and she can't have Truma anymore when she has relations with someone that's puzzle? Because it says he should not profane the seed. And it says Layichalal, we say two chilulim. One for her, she becomes profaned if she has relations with someone that she's forbidden to. And also the children that she has is also prohibited. Now, this person that's a shachov, he can't have children. So maybe she also doesn't become profane and she also could eat truma. Mashmalan that no, she becomes profane even though there's no children. So there's a chiddush in what Shmuel said. Now we have to go back and say, so what are you talking about when it said someone that's not a man? That he can't warn his wife not to be with someone that's not a man. He warns her not to be secluded with a non-Jewish person. Gemara says that's impossible because a man can warn his wife not to be with a non-Jewish man. Don't be secluded with such and such a man. Paisel b'truma, and also that person would make her prohibited from having truma. Who said this? Rav Hamnuna. The Gemara says, why does Rav Hamnuna need to say that? Of course, this non-Jewish man would make her puzzle. Of course, it would make it would. The warning not to be with this non-Jewish man would be a problem. I could have thought that since the pasuk says tame to nitma twice, that once she's secluded with this person, she has relations with him, she can't marry him either. But that's only this laws would apply only someone that she could have married. But because she had this illicit relationship with him while she was married, now she can't marry him. But the non-Jew, she was never allowed to marry. And even if she didn't have relations with him, she can never marry him. So if that's the case, maybe I would say that the laws of Saita don't apply, because the laws of Saita have a different ruling, that when someone that she was permitted to, she becomes prohibited to. But this she was always prohibited to. Maybe it doesn't apply. So Rav Hamnuna says no, it does apply. So it's Rav Hamnuna has a chiddush. Upaisil b'truma, and the relations with a non-Jewish man makes her prohibited from eating truma. Pshita, this is obvious, because she's any person that she lives with that she was not allowed to live with, makes her puzzled from ever eating truma. Ma'odatem, I could have thought, the rule is that if a daughter of a kohen marries someone that's not a kohen, so she doesn't need truma, unless the husband dies and she goes back to her father's house. So here she married someone that's not a kohen, but I could have thought she lives with someone. I would think that it's only the bar havaya. Havaya means that the marriage would take effect. But since this is a non-Jewish man, marriage, it wouldn't even be considered a marriage. Bar havaya only someone that the marriage would be a marriage would ruin her. But the lav bar havaya, but someone that the marriage wouldn't even be a marriage, like would say maybe it wouldn't ruin her from eating truma. Kamash Malan comes to teach us that the pasal meet the Rabbi Yochanan, that she becomes puzzled from eating truma, as Rabbi Yochanan says. Why? Dam Rabbi Yochanan mishum Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Yochanan says, name of Rabbi Yishmael, how do you know that a non-Jewish man or a slave, they live with a girl that's either a kehenes or a levia or a bas Yisrael, that they make her prohibited from ever marrying a kohen? Shenemar says a bas kohen kisi almana grusha. A bas kohen, when she becomes a widow or a divorcee, so she returns to her father's house. She goes to her father's house, she can eat truma.
Does she not eat truma after she drinks? Like, and she's found innocent?
No, then she goes back, then she's fine. Here we're talking about two totally separate cases. We're talking about a man that his relations is not considered a relation for whatever reason. Either he was a shachaf or he was a David Kechavim. And we're discussing, can a husband warn his wife not to be together with such an individual? And will the laws of Sota apply? Which we say yes, either Shmuel says yes or Rav Nuna. Then there's one more detail that a relations with such a person, would that make her prohibited from ever eating truma if she was the daughter of a kohen? Now, what the rule is that a daughter of a kohen, while she's in her father's house, she eats truma together with her family. If she gets married to someone else, to a Yisrael, she doesn't eat truma. If she becomes a widow or a divorcee, she goes back and she does eat truma back in her father's house, unless she had a child, then she stays over there. She doesn't go back. But here we're saying, let's say she ends up having relations with this guy, with this non-Jewish guy. So can she go back to her father's house? So it says, Misha yesh la almanis v'gerishin ba. So when does she go back to her father's house? That's only someone that could make her into a widow or a divorcee. But because this non-Jewish man would not make her into a widow or a divorcee, so she doesn't go back to her father's house, that means that she's finished. She never eats truma again.
But she's not married.
But nevertheless, the relations make her prohibited from eating truma. Yeah. She becomes pasul. Elamuti mai. So if that's the case, so we don't have anything to say. We know that if a man can't warn his wife, don't be secluded with a child. Can't warn his wife, don't be secluded with someone that's not a man. But who is that referring to? Someone that's not a man. It didn't suggest, which I thought it could have suggested, that he doesn't want her to be secluded with another woman, and he doesn't like such behavior. Maybe the husband doesn't want that. But that, I guess the Gemara takes that's obvious that would not make her forbidden. It's not a prohibition, even though, according to one opinion, that's considered Kamaisi Eretz Mitzrayim, that lesbian behavior was similar to, according to one opinion, that's considered the Egyptian practice. And it says in the Torah, you should not do Egyptian practice. So, but nevertheless, that's not like, we don't have a source for that in the Gemara, I think. It's the Rishonim said. No. No. Yeah. And homosexual behavior is prohibited only for a man, at least biblically. Amar Rav Papa says, this is bestiality. He says, he warns her, I don't want to be secluded with that animal, with that dog, or whatever, sheep. Because there's no such thing as illicit relationship with a animal. Where did the rabbis get this from? That there's no znus behema. The Ksiv, they have a verse that says, you're not allowed to bring a sheep that was exchanged for the purchase of a dog, and you also can't bring a sheep that was given as payment for a prostitute. That cannot be brought as a sacrifice. Vitanya in the Brisa then says, Esnan kelav mechir zaynim mutarim. Let's say someone gave to a woman, he said, take the sheep and have relations with my dog. Okay. Or he takes his maidservant and he sells it to another man with the exchange of a sheep. Now I have a sheep that was used in exchange for relations with a dog, and I have a sheep that was used for exchange for a prostitute. It says that's mutarim. It's only the opposite. It's only when it was sheep that was used as a payment for a prostitute, or sheep that was used in exchange for a dog, not sheep that was used as a payment for relations with the dog. That would be permissible. You see, that tells me shenemar gam shneim shnayim b'layar, but there's only 2 cases that are prohibited, not 4 cases that are prohibited. If that's the case, so then that's a source that tells us that it's not considered an illicit relationship, that the husband can warn the wife, I don't want you to be secluded with this animal. Should we leave it here? We'll leave it here. Okay. We're up to Ve'ala Shech Basar Lamalei.
Shkoya, Rabbi.
Okay. Have a good day.
Just watch a new Netflix movie. I think the most common word said the way